Haunted. We are streaming live. I'm putting on my watch, my astrology watch. Thank you very much. Because astrology is what we're talking about today. Elaine Marolakos Edelson with Astrology Mojo and Transformational Astrology want to help you get your mojo back. What time is it? Well, it's 5 after Scorpio. I'm sorry, Pisces. So, this particular day is the day prior to some big event in our world, in our entire world. We're having a huge event. And I hope you can join me while we talk about it. And let me know that you're here. I'm gathering my notes, etc., etc. And just to let you know up top, I will be back on Friday. And we're going to be talking about some planetary alignments that can help you. And again, remember, folks, if you're new to me or new to everything that I'm talking about, the planets don't make you do anything. Oh, creaky. Hi, Kate. We live... I have to oil this thing. Oil that thing. Oil can. The planets don't make you do anything. We live in a cooperation with the cosmos so that when the planets make a move, you feel it. And when you make a move, the planets reflect that in the heavens by way of aspects and angles. Now, we've been talking about Jupiter going into retrograde motion April 10th through August 11th, 2019. And Jupiter spends approximately 12 months in any one sign as it traverses the constellation. Hi, Yvonne. Yes, who's here? What's your birthday? And when Jupiter goes retrograde tomorrow, technically we're already in the retrograde. Things will come out into the open. What things? Retrograde usually means to step back and go within. And this particular retrograde is going to show you the cracks in your foundation if you're looking. If you're not looking, you'll just go through the motions without seeing what the pattern is. And I want to help you see the pattern so you can either continue it in a bigger way if it's a healthy pattern, or you can stop it and jump tracks with your quantum leap towards your intended direction. Wouldn't you like that? Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah, come on. Okay. So I've got a grip on my Moldavite today. Remember, I talked a few events back about having this profound dream about this frog that attached itself to my leg and it turned a specific green color. Well, this is the green color. That's exactly the green color that it turned. And because it's not backlit, I'm going to put a flashlight through it. You can see the green I'm talking about. This is the stone of Moldavite, and it's a tektite. Which means it's an asteroid that collided with the Earth. It's a meteor asteroid thing that collided and the debris fell on Earth many years ago. A lot of it comes from Germany. But energetically speaking, this particular Moldavite, which is kind of pricey, they go by grams. And what it does is when you hold it, when you work with it, you feel a specific type of energy that is out of this world. Did I just make a pun? All right, I'm looking for my flashlight app on my phone so you can see. Let me just type it in. Flashlight. There it is. Now, I'm going to hold this up. I hope I do not blind you. Oh, no. Too bright. There it is. Kind of that greenish color. It's very cool. And I had a Moldavite a long time ago, and the first time I used it, I felt like I could move through time. Literally. I was doing 40 things at once. I felt like that scene in the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper, my second husband. Thanks, Dean. Where he's, taking this drug of, we don't know what it is, and he starts moving around. Spoiler alert, as if he can move through time. And that's what this does. So sometimes I wear it on my person. Now, if you're the kind of person who works with crystals, or you kind of half work with crystals, and some people actually drink crystal water, you do not want to be drinking, like if you put this in purified water and then drank it, you don't want to be doing that because this contains aluminum. And it wouldn't be good. So hi, Kate. Hi, Christine. Snow in Canada. Wow. Okay. And we have a Cancer, Yvonne. We have a Virgo. We have another Cancer. And we have a Taurus. And I'm just a tourist. I'm a Taurus. Just a tourist on this earth. So I was talking about time. And I was doing a little research on this black hole. Okay, so if you're not aware of it, a friend brought this to my attention a few days ago. And there is a wonderful global event that's going to be happening here tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. A group of astronomers that have worked together, they call this thing the Event Horizon. They are going to show the world what they've come up with since 2006. Now, remember I said, let's go back 12 years with the Jupiter retrograde? Well, that's approximately the 12-month scope, 2006 to 2007. And what they've discovered about the black hole that's 20,000 million miles away from us in the center of our galaxy. Now, there are two of them. What? There are two black holes. One's in the constellation of Sagittarius. That's a Jupiter thing. And the other one is in the constellation of Virgo. So they are hoping to show us what they have discovered tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, and figure out the rest. And that's going to be pretty darn cool, right? Because we're actually going to see what Einstein had been theorizing about and talking about. And what it means. Now, a black hole, I'm no expert. Hey, didn't we get Neil deGrasse Tyson to come here and talk with me? No, we didn't. It's just me, folks, and what I've researched. And so what's really, hi, Jenny, Pisces, Jenny, the Pisces. And what's really fascinating is that time, and I say the word time, and I hear so many songs at the same time in my head. Time. Time. No. So many different versions of what we experience on the earth are all relative to our experience of time. And Einstein talked about that years ago. This is why he was so brilliant, because he understood it. He actually did a test. He was talking about black holes and the theory that if something's moving faster in space, it's relative to your experience here on the earth. It's very different. So what they did was they had two clocks. Einstein did this test. There were two clocks, and I forget the kind of clocks. There were these big clunky clocks, like a click, you push the big button at the top, and the timer would start. So they put one on an airplane, and they left one on the ground at the airport of this test, and then the plane took off. Now, both clocks were started at the same time, and the plane that was moving faster than the people who were standing there on the ground, not really moving at all, they compared the clocks at the end of the plane's journey. And sure enough, the plane clock was faster than the ground clock, because time is relative to your experience. And the faster you go, then we move into time-space continuum. And I'm not even going to go there because I don't even fully understand it. Not even like, what did our friend Brian Regan, the comic, talks about? What is it, Dean? He talks about, he was watching a program on PBS or something, and he saw like the string theory, and he's like, well, I got string cheese. I know the string cheese theory. It's like, that's where I am, But it's fascinating, and we're going to find out tomorrow what it looks like. And, we may be expecting, cinematic images, and they may not look like that. So, we've been desensitized to things we've seen in the film and industry and television world. So let's just pull it back and be grateful that science is showing us something. Now, Jupiter is the planet that, Jupiter and Uranus are the two planets that cover science and technology and travel. So this is space travel. And this is very, very cool. Hey, we've got Aubrey here. She's a Libran. And Gina, hello. And who else? Hang on. A little dry here. We have spring. Today it will be 80 degrees. Tomorrow will be 67. Welcome to the high desert. Jupiter goes into retrograde motion. Technically tomorrow it's already there. There's always a pre-phase before a planet goes into retrograde motion. And so what you can expect for the next 4 months, depending on where Jupiter is transiting in your natal chart, of course, but what you can expect overall is to have insight into something that has been eluding you. It's been over here, you can't find it, and you're unable to get clear on the pattern. So where it shows up in your chart is going to be monumental to how to redirect those patterns and what life has looked like since 1995. Yeah, and what the trajectory is. Because once you know the pattern, you know what's going to happen. Isn't that brilliant, really? Once we establish a pattern, we pretty much know what to expect tomorrow. That's how we create familiarity in our world and habits so that we feel safe. But they're not always healthy habits, are they? Are they? So you want to think about that too. And also click on the blue button, the Book Now button, because what I'm offering is an hour with me. I'm going to be going in depth through your life, 1995, 2007, and now, and seeing what exactly the issue is and why you can't seem to get past it. What's the crack in your foundation that you haven't been able to scope out? And then it comes with a 30-day follow-up email to find out, are you on track? And let's get this going. Let's move this. We want to bump tracks to feeling really grand and spectacular. Oh, also, I want to send some love to some relatives of mine and friends who have been going through some difficult times with the illness of an uncle. My uncle is in the hospital, the passing of a pet, and some other illnesses that are being healed. So now is the turning point for all involved. So someone said to me the other day, what is happening? There's so much going on. I think there's always something going on, right? And some people feel it more than others, right? And so you want to look at your life and say, what is it that I'm doing? Where am I going? How do I want to get there? Yvonne says, I don't see a blue button. Do I need to be on a computer? Well, if you're on a tablet or a phone, you might need to scroll down to see the blue Book Now button. On a Facebook page, on a computer, the blue button is above you or above me, above the video in the corner of the page. But on a phone or a tablet, just scroll down. And let's see, I have my happy cards and I'm going to be doing that. So with this black hole, black hole is an anomaly that, we've heard about. If you read science fiction, if you watch movies, they always talk about the black hole, right? In any movie we've seen, Interstellar really talks about the black hole, and Matthew McConaughey ventures into the black hole, and he has his time experience because it's all fragmented. But what I'd like you to look at is what's your timing on how you experience your evolution, your changes, your repetitive experiences. If you come across, or no, let's put it like this. Let's say you hit a brick wall and you can't go any further with your life in whatever capacity, your health, your marriage, your career, your relationship with your kids or your friends, or where you live. Maybe it's just getting to you, and or it's causing harm. It's too much noise pollution or smog pollution, or wherever the brick walls are. First, you need to recognize how they affect you, right? That makes sense. And then from there, you have to ask yourself, is there something I can do about it? Because a lot of times people just say, well, this is the way it is. What am I going to, what can I do? This is the way it is. You live in a big city, you got to deal with the traffic. Okay. Well, do you want to live in a big city? Do you need to live in a big city? And then here comes those cracks in the foundation I was talking about, because then you'll start to say, well, I can't just get up and move. Why not? Why can't you? And then come the reasons. And a lot of these things that we tell ourselves are practical and logical sometimes are ways that we stay in that familiar place to keep us safe. because we don't want to venture out beyond. You know, the great beyond is on the inside. And we can look at here in Sedona, there's lights out on every porch by 10 p.m. It's the law, because we are what's called a dark sky community. And when we look up, the sky is anything but dark. There are constellations. We see shooting stars. We see planets. You know, it's just amazing. And so to look up there and feel this tiny down here, it puts it in perspective of, wow, that I acknowledge that. I see those stars. I see the planets. I see things moving. Then what am I in relationship to that? What could I be in relationship to that? And then you look down at the ground and you go, oh, look, there's a weed I got to pull, or, you know, my shoes are dirty. And so when you look at all aspects and all angles, left, right, up, down, you get a bigger perspective of who you are and where you're going. And I know that sounds corny, but sometimes when we get out of the rut that we don't know we're in, it comes with an eye-opening experience. This is what diaries are for, photo albums. You know, you look back on pictures and you go, oh my gosh, look at me. Look at my hair. You know, look at my clothes, or how skinny I was. Or, you know, my sister was going through some of my mom's photo albums and brought some pictures over yesterday. And I looked at the picture and I said to my husband, where is she? Where's that skinny me? Where is that skinny me? But what's ironic and what's hysterical is that it's incongruent, because when I was skinny, I was not healthy. And then when I gained weight, that's when I became healthier. But now there's excess weight that doesn't know, like psychologically, doesn't know where to go. Well, if you're healthy, you should be thin. But remember when you were thin? No, that was a no good one. That was no good. So the irony, the contradictions, they're all going to come up now. Especially because Jupiter is a huge planet. And now, if you're not familiar with what Jupiter looks like, here's a picture of Jupiter the Earth in relationship to the spot on Jupiter. Okay, just the spot on Jupiter. Look, wait, I'm trying to do this. Look at. I can't go backwards. Look at that. Look at that spot. There, I think 4 Earths could fit in the size of the spot on Jupiter. That's how small we are compared to Jupiter. So the energy of Jupiter, what it represents, is how big. It's like go big or go home. So where would you like to go big? Where? I'm going big with writing and Astro Masterclass that I'm creating for you guys, and the whole idea of expanding my consciousness. That is my whole goal on the earth. That's one of the reasons I've come, because once I get what it feels like or can look like, that's when I can turn around and say, look, let's get practical about this. Here, let me help you. Let me show you that if you want to get there, first you have to do these steps. And sometimes the steps are, feels like drudgery. Like, no, really, I got to make a change. I have to do this thing. I don't wanna. I have to quit smoking, or I have to, whatever, change an attitude. Well, if, to quote Einstein, insanity is what is the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It's just the way it is, the way it manifests on this earth. So tell me, what is it that you want to see in this world? Where are you going in this world? Because all too often we forget that we will be leaving this world, right? I have something in my eye. Sometimes we get so stuck in the details of what it is right now that we don't look at the bigger picture. With Jupiter in retrograde, this is where we go in. And when we go in, we just see the entire universe. That's what we are. We are a culmination of stardust and energies and different lifetimes and different experiences and different religious beliefs, spiritual experiences. And we try to make sense of it in our head. And we can't. The brain is not, the mind as we know it now. We don't use the full capacity of our mind or our brain. Most people only use about 11% of their lungs. Breathing shallow. So remember, just think big. when you're going through something, stop, pause, inhale deeply, exhale, get centered in where you are right now and what's happening right now. So, hi, Selena. It's mighty dry here today. We saw a fantastic movie the other night made by Adam McKay, and the irony in it is brilliant. It's called Vice, and it's the story of Dick Cheney, or what possibly could be the story of Dick Cheney, and what some people's perceptions were, and what some of the truths were, and the rest was conjecture. And so our favorite scene is the dinner scene in the restaurant when the waiter is giving the menu. It's just a must-see because of how it's presented. Hungry for power? Okay, so I'm going to pull a card with my happy cards. You let me know how you're feeling, what's going on. How's everybody doing? Jenny, Yvonne, Selena, all these pretty names. Jupiter and black holes, Gaynell. So, what is the big glaring issue for you? What is that big glaring issue? And if you're not familiar, again, it depends on if you know your chart. You can see where Jupiter is now transiting your chart. You may have been born with Jupiter at, let's say, in the 10th house, in a certain sign, but now Jupiter might be in your 2nd house or your 3rd house or the 8th house. So it'll take on a different meaning, and it'll shed light. You know, wherever a planet transits in your chart, I don't have any charts in front of me. Whenever a planet transits in your chart, it's like putting a big flashlight or a spotlight on it of that area of your life. And people will say, "Oh, I don't have planets in some of the houses in my chart." What does that mean? Am I deficit? Am I in a deficit? Is there it's like, no. There's every house in astrology is guided by a planet and a sign. So each house is related to something in your life. And where Jupiter shows up in your chart right now, it's showing where you have to take the big dive in. You know what it makes me think of? Those cartoons where, the original Dumbo cartoon. Now they made a movie out of it. But the original Dumbo cartoon where he's up in the circus on the ladder and he's on this little platform and he has to dive into a cup, in his ears, and he flies down so he won't fall. But it's like diving far down in and deep into this tiny little space. But what happens is it opens up on the other side, and it's huge. And you get to see what I keep calling the crack in the foundation, the part of you that, is persistent on something, but you're not getting the message. And so you keep producing the same results with your actions, your beliefs, your disbeliefs, and your inaction. So what part of you would like to change? What is it that you would really like to do? Remember being 7 years old? That at the age of 7 approximately is when a person becomes moral in thinking. And that's when they start to envision their future as if, why not? Now, of course, if you say, I wanted to be an astronaut. Okay, cool. Or I wanted to be my favorite character on television. Well, that probably won't happen unless you grow up and somehow make a version of that and start writing for television or, becoming an artist. You see what I'm saying? So when you're around 7, you start to make proclamations and you want to have adventures, or you want to have a family, or you envision, I want to be and then you fill in the blank. So if you can remember back to 7, that's pretty cool. And then think about when you were 12 years old, what changed. Now, in most bodies, what happens is the hormones start to alter in whatever gender you were born as. And then that starts to change. And you go, oh, well, now I'm growing into a woman, into a young man, or, and then around 24, you go through the same cycle of, I want to do something different. I want to really expand. But we go backwards sometimes so that we can go forward. Does that make sense? That sometimes we go backwards in life because if you don't know where you've come from, how do you know where you're going to go? And because you don't want to repeat the same things that didn't work for you the first time or the first 10 times, right? All right, I'm going to pull a card for the Jupiter and black holes. Like, what's in the black hole? What is it? It's energy. How does it move? It's mind-blowing. We don't know. We'll find out, we hope, maybe in our lifetime. But your black hole, what's your black hole about? Like, where do you go when you hit the same, stopping point with a relationship, with a friendship, with your job, with I've had it, and you keep saying, you circle the same drain, you go around the same block. What's the repetitive issue? That's what I'm asking. What's your black hole? I'm going to scroll down and see. Oh, so Selena's going through a divorce and just one thing after another. Well, that's hard. That's finally getting to a place of saying, well, this doesn't work for me anymore. And so you have to deal with the details of the separation and the emotions around it, because then what comes up is all the years you were together. And how did it go from point A to point end? How did it get there? So that's a lot of energy. So when I talk to people a lot of times, and I'll say, sometimes it's not about the details of he said this or she said that or they did this or, some people fight over money and wills, and some people fight over we just don't get along, but we stay together for the kids. And some people, they just don't know how to communicate. I think it's really important that if you back away from your expectations sometimes and you say, well, I can tell you, then you can pinpoint exactly where you knew you no longer were meant to be together. But in order to not repeat the pattern, because that's what we'll do, we'll just keep repeating things over and over again, is in order to not repeat the pattern, look at what were your expectations and hopes with this one person. And sometimes we put it all on a person. Sometimes we meet, we flirt, we hang out, we date, we have sex, we see interaction between family members and friends. And then you say, oh yeah, this is the perfect person for me. Or some people just say, this is as good as it gets. So in either case, what are your expectations? And then along the way, how are you communicating those expectations? And how are you letting go of some of those expectations? And how are you listening to what the other person is saying? And so it all comes back to communication. It really does. And the communication starts on the inside, in your heart and in your mind, because when you put it together and you say, I really want to, go forward in a relationship with this person. You meet somebody new, and I'll give an example. I had a client who had been divorced and then was alone for about 8 years. And said, I think I'm ready. She said, I think I'm ready to get back in and have a relationship. And what do you see for me? And I said, well, what do you see for you? Do you want to have a relationship for real? And she said, yes, I actually do. I said, it's okay if you just want to have a fling and, take care of the biology. Cool. And have some fun. Or are you looking for something committed? And she said, no, I really want something committed. I said, great. Then we have to go through a little bit of exploration to find out, who are you in a relationship? And what it turned out to be was that she realized, this is a powerful businesswoman, by the way. And when she was in a relationship, what she did was, because of who she was as a child and how she was raised and what she believed then and grew up to believe and had hoped for, and her romanticism and all that, she gave all the power to the guy in the relationship. I think a lot of women do that. But anyway, she gave all the power to him. And I said, okay, so what did that look like? Give me a specific. And she said, well, like we would go out to dinner and I would want a certain thing. And he would say, no, that makes you gain weight. Let's look at something else on the menu. And she'd go, oh yeah, you're right. And I would say, and that happened once or a lot? And she said, a lot. I said, okay, so you allowed this person to dictate your terms? And essentially, yes. So when you're looking at what you want to change in life, let's look at your communication and being so honest. Let's just be so honest and say, yeah, I had hate in my heart for this person, or not necessarily a husband or ex-wife or anything, but you had a friendship and then you had a falling out. Just be honest about your role in any relationship, because who you are in the world, who you project and who you are at home on your own, in your mind, sometimes it's incongruent, right? And there's the contradiction. You don't always say who you are. And my husband and I talk about this often because we have a very refreshing relationship. We always have, because I had been around the block with the same thing over and over. And I put myself into my house at the time and said, that's it. I'm done. No more. I'm not going to keep attracting the same kind of person who won't give back to me. Because that's not the question. It's like, why won't he give back to me? Why won't she give to me? That's not the question. The question is, why won't you allow it? That's the question. As much as it might hurt, and it hurt me at the time when I realized that, and I thought, I won't allow it because I don't trust. I don't feel safe. I don't trust. I don't believe. So I went through the whole gamut of what I experienced in that 6 months of being alone. And then I meditated, went into counseling. I meditated for hours a day. I did a lot of writing around it. I looked at examined behavior. Like I looked at, well, when this person did that, how did I respond? In most cases, I didn't. Or I just laughed it off. Because I thought, oh, it's just a thing, But the thing existed in every relationship. So I kept blowing it off. Like, yeah, that's okay. That's, I see into them. I see how generous they are. I see how kind they are. I see tiny moments. In a lot of relationships, someone might be invalidating to you. Could be a family member, could be a lover, a spouse. It could be a, sister, brother, friend. If someone is invalidating to you and it hurts your feelings, do you say something to them? In a kind, compassionate way in order to resolve? That's where you want to go. Because if you don't say anything and it continues, then you allow yourself to become a victim. And that's not really who you are. So I made it a point to stay away from dating at a certain point in my life. And then what I did was I examined all these parts of me. Why won't they give to me? Because I noticed the pattern. I would have to pursue, then they wouldn't give to me, and they would withhold information or affection, or, it would just be at odds. And I thought, okay, I'm the magnet for this situation. What am I disallowing? And that's when I realized and had my opening, so that when I met my husband, and I said at the time to the energies that I work with, the masters, the angels, all the vibes. And I said, okay, I think I'm ready. If you concur, please, usher someone into my world. And through a friend, I met someone, and his name was Dean, and we became friends. And I made it a point to not be the old person. So the very first time I got angry with Dean, and I was always so forgiving all the time in every relationship. But the very first time, he was a friend of mine. We'd known each other maybe, 3, 4, 5 months. And he asked me to drive him. He had to get his car fixed. He asked me to drive him to the mechanic. So I did. And he asked how I was. And as I was talking to him, I started to bare my soul. I was like, and this happened, and oh my gosh, and blah, blah, blah. And I get to the corner, the mechanic was across the street. He's like, okay, thanks. And he jumped out of the car and he went to get his car. And he goes, I'll see you back at the house. So I went back to his house. I was furious. I was fuming. And I thought, what just happened? And he said to me, what just happened? Because you seem upset. And I go, I'm really angry. So I named my feelings for the first time in a way that was completely different from the past. And I said, I'm really angry, and I'm scared to death that if I tell you why, you won't even want to be my friend anymore. And he said, well, I'm here. I'm listening. And I said, you jumped out of the car when I was telling you something from my heart. And he said, I'm so sorry. I didn't even know I did that. I said, well, And it really pissed me off. And he's like, I really apologize. And I said, you know, what's big is that I'm saying it. I'm saying it to someone relatively new in my life, and you're listening and you're validating me. I mean, that was new. So sometimes we don't see the pattern that we have, and we continued that until, you know, years later we got married, and we continue it till today. We still get annoyed with one another. It doesn't mean, you know, we're like holding hands and skipping and sprinkling stardust everywhere. It's like we get annoyed with one another, but we have the wherewithal to say, I care enough about you to work this out. So let's talk about it. So Teresa's here. Selena says, every relationship I have been in, they beat me, messed around on me. Or okay, so you need to stop that. A bad relationship is not about them. It's about you. It's about you saying, I'm not worth it. I'm not powerful. So now this is where you go into counseling. Now this is where you do some work on yourself so that you end this pattern. Do you understand? Yeah. Because then sometimes we get stuck in our stories. Because I too come from that same thing. I messed around on, emotionally and physically abused. And it's like, you know, people look at me and go, I can't believe that was you. And I go, yeah, me neither. Because it really wasn't. I was afraid to be me. Me is, yeah, I don't take crap from anybody. But I have a high threshold. And so I will look at someone's erratic, angry behavior and say, and validate them and say, you look really upset. Instead of taking it personally, because I have a boundary. I have power in my boundary. So I look at someone who's yelling or upset or whatever, and I go, wow, oh my gosh, you seem really upset. Is there something I can do to help you? Instead of making it about me, right? So, but you have to work to that point. So now I'm going to pick a happy card for everybody on the black hole. And the black hole is the part of you that you refuse to acknowledge. And it can be, it's not good or bad. It's not positive or negative. It's a part of you that creates patterns in your life. Now, maybe the patterns are great and healthy. Maybe they're not. So let's look at some advice from the universe, which I call on now, and invite the angels to give me some insight for everyone on black holes. Okay, so the card, actually, whoops, one fell out. There's two cards, two mints in one. And the first one is perpetual transformation. Ooh, that looks trippy. Perpetual transformation. And that's what the moment is about. Every moment you're in is the potential for the next moment to be even better, even if the last moment was horrible and crap. Why? Because this is the second card that came out, creation. You're in a constant mode of creating your environment, your world, and it may not look that way. You may get sucked into the drama, the melodrama, and the details. You know, you came to this earth to break up the drama and the melodrama by engaging in the drama. So you have a relationship. You say something to someone. They step on your toes. You work it out. You be honest with compassion and say, yeah, that didn't feel good, and I don't appreciate that. And no, that's not allowed. You can't do that anymore. I don't like it when you get drunk and you get nasty. No, I'm going to walk away. I'm letting you know now that if it happens again, I'm walking away. And then when the time comes, if it does, you need to follow through. These are not just threats. This is a new standard of living. I'm going to walk away. That's it. So once you get there, then you elevate yourself to say, yeah, why did I even allow that at the beginning? Because I didn't think I was worth any more? Really? Come on, you're worth it. And so this perpetual transformation keeps going, and then suddenly you feel more empowered, and then you have the next moment, and somebody offers to help you, and you actually say yes, and they're kind, and you go, wow, this is new for me. I'm not used to this. You know, how many times have you heard that in movies and your friends in your own life? It's like, I'm not used to being treated great. Well, why not? It's about time, right? Yeah, it is about time. You get used to it. And that's a matter of seeing your worth, acknowledging your worth, and saying, I love my life. I am here to put something beautiful into this world. So in as many moments as possible, I'm going to be back on Friday. And we're going to talk more about your expansion with Jupiter in retrograde. But I want you to think about between now and then, and just in as many moments as possible, as kind as you are to someone else, also give that same amount of energy to yourself in whatever way, shape, or form, by taking a break, taking a nap, having a great meal, smiling at yourself, being kind to yourself, not pushing yourself, allowing yourself to create something that gives you joy and happiness. You know, you want to bake a pie, go bake a pie. You want to watch a TV show, go watch a TV show. Who is judging you? You. Oh, by the way, one of the definitions of Jupiter is judgment. So, you know, because there's positive and negative in everything in the world. So I'm going to make a note. We're going to talk about back on Friday, and we're going to talk about judgments. Judgments. And I got judged once in 7th grade for not knowing how to spell the word judgment. What are the odds? All right, folks. Be smiley. Be sparkly. You are. Go create something wonderful. And I will see you again on Friday. And be light. Be kind to yourself, please. And then tomorrow, look for it. 9 a.m. Eastern, broadcast in many countries around the globe. We are going to find out from Event Horizon what a black hole actually looks like. We hope. Okay. See you then. Bye-bye.